Hello, fabulous one. What could be a very hard concept to understand is that the ego will never be able to go outside of her own mental box. First of all, there is this misunderstanding that you can get rid of your ego or you can kill it, surrender it, no more self. And I am pretty sure from the spiritual community, but also the scientific community, in the next 10 to 20, 30 years, it's going to be really well known that the ego is here to stay. So if you are constantly trying to get rid of your ego, then that's already something that is impossible. So you're going to suffer to no end. If you are constantly telling yourself, I gotta stop thinking negative thoughts. I can't have these negative thoughts. My thoughts are what crippling me. Then you're constantly going to keep yourself in a low vibrational state. You need to allow the ego to be here. Allow the ego to tell you what's going on. Allow her to rant. Allow her to speak her piece. Allow her to voice herself. Because we have learned, especially as women, for the longest time, that whatever we think is not valuable to the world. Whatever you have to say, nobody wants to hear it. But the problem with that is that, yeah, nobody wants to hear it. And that's fine. But you also stop talking to yourself. And that's not fine. So you stop talking to the world because the world don't want to listen to you. That's perfectly fine. But don't stop talking to yourself. Don't stop talking to yourself. You got to keep talking to yourself. And so basically the world tells us, shut up. But now I am telling myself, shut up. So whenever my unconscious mind or my fake self, because in my book I call it fabulous and fake self, there are also two other selves. And together they form the four minds that need to unite as one. And in my book, I call them Fabulous One fractal selves because they are miniature versions of the whole. But the mind consists of fabulous self and the fake self. The fabulous self is the persona, as Carl Jung says. The persona who only wants to be perceived by the world as fabulous. She's the conscious mind, because she's the one who actually addresses the world. And so if you tell my fabulous self, you are not good enough, who you think you think you're fabulous, shut up, then I'm going to adjust my fabulous self to what the world wants me to be. And I literally split in half. Because first I had this idea of what fabulous could mean, but now the world is dictating to me what it is. So the parts that I initially thought were fabulous are no longer fabulous, but the parts that the world confirms about me that are fabulous, I allow them to stay. So now I split in half, and a half of me is going into the dark. Never to be expressed, never to be developed. But as Carl Jung says, anything you resist will persist and grow in size. So I have those skeletons, those bad personality traits that the world doesn't like about me. They're in the closet over there, but they keep growing in size, you know. Sometimes I see this funny visualization where I see the skeletons pop out of the door because they keep getting bigger and bigger as I grow older. I also accumulate more karma as I grow older. Welcome to Self Mastery School for Moms, where you learn how to silence your inner saboteur, awaken your energy body, and connect to your higher self. You will go from mom to master, so you can make each day your masterpiece. My name is Janice Nelson, author and self-mastery teacher of Fabulous One Philosophy. I'm on a mission to help you become the awakened mom. You are Fabulous One, and all you have to do is remember what you forgot. So now there's another half of me that wants to express itself, that never learned to express itself, that never got a choice, that never got a voice. So those parts of me are still small. And so I would compare that as well to cognitive behavior therapy, where you comfort your inner child. but it's about allowing her to express herself without your own judgment. So we allow the world to judge us, but don't judge yourself. Allow the unconscious mind to speak her mind. And so that's a practice, because we've never learned. We never learned to do that. We have learned that that part of us is bad. That part of us should not be accessed. That part of us is not allowed to play. That part of us is not allowed to come out. So unintentionally, whatever is connected to those character traits, even though you think they are negative, everything negative has positive character traits, because we live in a yin-yang universe, positive and negative universe. And because of the law of polarity, anything that exists, if it's negative, there has to be an equal opposite of that exact same thing. So if we are going to create Superwoman, there has to be a super villain. The two cannot live without each other. Because if you're not a superwoman and you take away the super, you're just a woman, then we're just left with a villain. You see? But if you elevate to superwoman status, you're going to elevate the opposite to supervillain status. And so the world is always going to judge you. There are going to be women that look at you and say, wow, you're superwoman, you're so talented, you're doing this, you're doing that, and you know, you're married, you have a child, you're doing it all, right? They're going to put you in a very positive light. But there are going to be other people who are going to judge you. And worse, there are going to be other people who are going to say, you ain't no superwoman, you're a supervillain. You're the bad guy. And so if your fabulous self is very, very sensitive, because the fabulous self is connected to the outside world, and if she's still connected to the outside world, but in the Fabulous One philosophy, I'm going to teach you that the mind can connect back to the soul. And once the mind takes the journey inwards, towards her soul, you can completely disconnect from the world. And then whatever the world says to you is going to bounce off of you. You're going to be like, so I'm fake. And, right? You're going to sit here and you're going to just, you know, do your thing. And you're going to, and if other people are not in alignment or in agreement or want to make you the bad guy, you're going to be like, and? Because you know in your heart you're not. You know in your heart what you're trying to do. And you're just trying to do it to the best of your abilities. But you will only be able to do that when you allow yourself to express yourself to yourself. Forget about the world. Switch them off. But express yourself to yourself. If you have to stand in the mirror and look at yourself and have the conversation, have the conversation. You know what I like to do? I just grab my phone and I turn on the recorder, the audio recorder, and I just record my voice and I start telling my stories. This is as well how I have trained myself to speak up, to speak out loud, to say the things that I think. I have thousands of hours of me practicing speaking out loud to myself first, before I decided to come online, before I decided to be public, because it's a muscle you strengthen within. And so once you understand the trajectory of going inwards, of following the inner guidance of your soul, without you realizing it, you are expanding your box. You are expanding the mental box that the ego is in. And so this is how you're going to be able to open your mind to the new, to create in the unknown, because the unknown is going to enter your mental box. If you keep the ego in a small, limited box, you're never going to see further than the box will allow you to. And only when people from the outside world will tell you it's safe to come out of your box, when you meet positive people, people who speak life into you, people who empower you, people who are brave enough themselves to step out of the box, you will now become as well brave to step out of the box. But the problem with the ego is that the ego cannot function without the box. So as soon as you step out of the box, you expand to a bigger box, which is a good thing. But you're still stuck in duality. So what we need to learn as mothers is to stop judging ourselves, open the door of your mental box and follow the soul. Because once you follow your soul, you're going to expand really fast. And once you connect to your higher self, you're going to become the universal box, the biggest box there is. So it's not about escaping the ego, moving away from the ego, surrendering the ego, escaping the matrix. Yes, it's not about escaping the matrix. It's about your perception of the matrix. It's about your ability to move inside the matrix. How big is your matrix? Because we all have an individual matrix. And that's something very deceptive, because you feel we are all in the matrix. So you might have this idea that everybody is living in the same mental box. But if we're really honest, we can clearly see the difference between people who are completely in alignment and who are not. So they're obviously in a different mental box, but because we can only judge what we see with our five senses, with our physical eyes, it appears so they are in the same box, which they are. But their box has expanded. Their box is bigger. So my limited box fits in their box. But their expanded box doesn't fit in my limited box. So I can't see what they see, but they can see me. So me, myself, I have to expand my box if I want to see further. But now I can use the expansion of others. You know, there's this famous saying, if I've seen further, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants. Sir Isaac Newton. So now you're going to look at your environment. You're going to see how others have expanded their box. Now you're going to expand your own box. Now you're going to feel safe. The ego is going to feel safe to move from the small box to the bigger box. So don't put the ego in limbo. Don't make the ego a limitless possibility. Don't make the ego an endless possibility, because the ego is only going to do what it knows, which is go in a fight or flight or freeze response. So if you don't want to go in a fight, flight, or freeze response, you will have to give the ego a bigger box to play in. Now, what's the biggest box to play in? The conscious universe. So if your ego can expand to the level of the conscious universe, now you can create to your heart's content. Now you can dabble into the unknown without feeling fear. Because instead of going into the unknown, you took the unknown and you brought it into the known. You shed light on where it's dark. You made unconsciousness become consciousness. So now there's no more fear. Now there's just you figuring it out. Now that everything has light upon it, now you still need to find all the puzzle pieces, but it's easier because now you can actually see the puzzle pieces. So now you're going to lift up the puzzle pieces, you're going to put it back, and you're going to take another puzzle piece and you're going to put it back. But it becomes easier. You become less afraid. You know, things cannot sneak up on you anymore because there's light, but you still don't have eyes in the back of your head. So there's still a level of, you still need to be careful to a certain extent, but there is more trust now to know that where it is you're going is not a scary place. And so if you can do that for your ego, instead of trying to get rid of her, give her a bigger box to play in. Allow her to speak her voice. Allow her to tell her grievances. Allow her to share her pain with you, to you, not to the outside world, to yourself. And then see how you can help the ego expand to a larger box.